All right, hey guys. My name is David Famide, also known as DFams on Instagram. I'll put that right down below. Um, I've been a photographer for a couple of years, shooting based in New York. I'm a Nigerian photographer, but I'm based in New York. Um, and over the years, people have asked me, "Oh, how do you do this? How do you do that?" And of course, I love responding via DMs, but it's hard for people to understand via DMs. It's better for them to see it live in action. So I decided this year, let me start making YouTube tutorials and showing people live on video. So that's what I want to do today. And I actually did a poll on my Instagram and I asked what tutorial should be first. And most people voted for a retouch tutorial, a simple retouch tutorial. So I decided that I'm gonna do that first. And we're gonna start first with a beauty shot that I shot not too long ago for my flag series. This shot was with Venance, also known as Miss Cameroon. She's based out in DMV in the Maryland area, so check her out, check her page out as well. The makeup was done by one of my favorites, Makeup by Penda. I'll put her info on the video as well, so you can check her out. She's based out here in New York. So just get right to business. The first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna open up our file. As you can see in this picture, the skin has not been retouched. The makeup was very good, so we don't have too much issues here to play with. Sometimes you'll find other issues if the makeup isn't as smooth, or if there's just a little spots here and there, or if there's no makeup at all. But here you can see the skin has not been touched. The only thing that has been touched is the lips. I edited the lips. I might do another tutorial later on editing paint, how to edit paint, because I know a lot of people like to shoot beauty shots with paint nowadays. So I might do another tutorial later on about that. Let me know in the comments if you want that, and I got you. But here today we're all about skin and skin retouching, and the main goal is to make sure that you do not smooth the textures of the skin. So basically what that means is that if I start to smooth in the textures, she's gonna start to look fake. So we wanna keep the textures of the skin, which is as you can see the pores, you can see all the pores in here, you can see basically the texture. But what I wanna do is I wanna blend the colors to make sure that I remove all the imperfections and anything that I might wanna blend in just to make it look smoother and better on screen. So what we want to do here, in order to be able to edit this, is we have to separate the textures from the colors. Separate the textures from the colors. And this method is called frequency separation. Now, a lot of people do it different ways, but I'm just going to show you the way that I do it so you can follow along. So the first thing you want to do is, this is the image layer. This is the image layer right here. The first thing you want to do is to move this layer onto the new layer icon. This just duplicates the layer. You can do this another way. You can go to layer, hit duplicate layer right here. It does the same thing. You can do it just like that. So you want to duplicate it 2 times. And the one on top, you want to name that texture. The one on the bottom, you want to name that skin, right? You can name it high frequency and low frequency. You can name it texture and colors. It's all up to you what you name it. But the top is the texture and the bottom is the skin colors, right? So what we need to do is we need to separate the textures from the colors. Right now in both of these layers, it is merged together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off the eye on the texture layer, and we're gonna focus right now on the colors. In order to get the colors without the texture, what you want to do is you want to blur it. So we'll come up to filter, right? Up in the panel, filter, under blur. Then we're going to move to Gaussian blur. I like my settings around 8.5. So we can do something around 8.5 today, and hit OK. What that does is that blurs the image, right? So now we're missing the textures of the skin. All we have is the colors on this layer. If I start to blend this, I'm just gonna blend the colors and I'm not gonna blend the textures. Now, to bring back the texture so that we can also work on the texture of the skin, we're gonna turn the lights on here on the texture skin, and we're gonna follow this very closely. We're gonna go up to image, apply image, and then don't worry about the lips there, that's on a separate layer. And we're gonna go to skin colors, because that's where we're applying the texture onto. That's where we're subtracting the texture from. And we're gonna use blending mode, subtract, right? So skin colors and subtract. The settings for scale should be 2 and offset by default. And we're gonna hit OK. Now, let me explain the lips again. So in the lips, what I did is that I edited the lips layer beforehand, but that's on a separate layer over here. That's on a separate layer over here, so that's why you see it like that. But normally the whole picture would be great. Now, this layer only has the textures. If I zoom in, you'll see all the ups and downs, the bumps and bumps of the texture of the skin, right? Now, in order to see this smoothly so it can look like the image that I've been working on originally, I'm gonna change the blending mode of this layer, the texture layer, over here to linear light. Click linear light, right? So we clicked the texture, we went over to image, we went over to apply image, we selected the layer, the skin colors layer, we hit subtract, and then we got the texture. And in order to see it correctly, we changed the blending mode to linear light. Now, I've got 2 separate layers. One of them has the texture, one of them has the skin colors. The next thing to do is to get right into it and start blending. Now, makeup artists know how this is. You don't want to blend too much. You don't want to blend into the wrong areas. You want to make sure the highlights stay in the highlights. You want to make sure the shadows stay in the shadows. And you also want to make sure that the facial structure does not change while you're doing this. But let's just get right to the business. So I'm going to start on, you can start on texture, you can start on colors, it's up to you. I'm just going to start on textures real quick just to show you. This is just a quick overall. You want to take more time when you're doing this on your actual images. But this is just a quick run through. So on the textures, what I want to do, you have a series of tools that you can use here. What I do like to use to edit the textures, which is really gonna help me to remove like pimples and bumps and things like that, is either the patch tool or the clone tool. So I'll just show you both how they work. We can start from the patch tool. You can see this bump right here, this one right here, is a texture. And you can tell because obviously it's a bump, it's not like smoothing colors. So what you want to do is you can make a circle around that, a small circle, nothing too big. And in your settings up here, should be, source should be selected. Transparency and patch normal is all fine. Diffusion 5 is all fine. And we're not using a pattern. So you want to just drag this over to a smoother area. And you see what it does? It brings that, where you dragged it over to, it brings that on top of the pimple that you had originally selected. So I'll do that up here as well. Drag it over, smooth. Do that over here, drag it over, smooth, right? Do it over here, drag it over, smooth. And you want to drag it to an area that's nearby. You don't want to take this and drag it over to here, or you'll get that random smooth area in there, which is not natural at all. So you want to just work on it meticulously, get that done slowly, nice and slow, and eventually you'll get what you're looking for. You can also do something like this with the clone stamp tool, which is right here. Clone stamp tool, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 from the top. Clone stamp tool. The way that works is with the Alt key, holding down the Alt or Option on a Mac. Let me just undo some of those bumps. Bring them back. Right, so With the Alt, you want to hold down Alt, select the smooth area this time, so you're going from the smooth to the layer that you want covered. What it does is it's literally cloning that area over it. So you want to hold down Alt, click the area that you want, and then click over the pimple, right? Click the area that you want, click over the pimple, right? What else can we do? Click the area you want, click over the pimple. Click the area you want, click over the pimple. As you're doing that, you're getting in all the nice textures that you actually want, right? All the nice textures that you actually want. Now, the textures that are in the highlights, which is a lot of people like to do highlights on the cheeks, highlights on the nose. You want to make sure that you don't blend those too much because it'll show that you're blending in the texture too much, okay? Now, those are just basic texture edits. The patch tool and the clone tool, you can use them interchangeably, whichever one works better for you to work on your textures. Now we're going to move on to the colors. What we want to do in order to be able to see the colors well, in order to be able to see the imperfections better, what you can do is you can come to your adjustments layer down here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 from the left in the layers panel, and you want to click black and white. There are other adjustments here that we'll talk about in other tutorials, but the black and white one is what we'll use right now. So as you can see, it just changes the image black and white. You can turn the eyes on and off as you work just to see what you're doing. But this helps you to see the imperfections a little better while you're working. So what I like to do, right, is I'll start to blend. I'll use the mixer brush tool, right? That's the main tool for the skin color blending. And in order to get to that tool, you come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from the top on the layer on the tools panel, and usually your default will be the brush tool. So in order to change that, you just hold down on there, hold your mouse down on there, and to get this other window, and click mixer brush tool. Once you get the mixer brush tool, this is what you'll use to blend the skin. Now you want to have your settings similar to mine. So your wet can be at 30, load 20, mix 20, flow 20, no sample or layers, and your brush settings will be over here. You want your hardness all the way down to 0, and the size of your brush is adjustable based on what you're really working on. So if you're working on a nose, it might be smaller than if you're working on the cheek, but that is up to you. So I'll start with a brush maybe around like 200 or so. You can also edit the brush size with the brackets, the bracket keys on your keyboard. On a MacBook keyboard, it's right next to P. It may be different on yours, but you want to use the brackets, so open and close just like that, or just come up here and adjust the size of the brush from up here. So what you want to do is we want to get on our skin colors layer, and what I like to do is I like to start from the forehead, and then I usually move down to the cheeks, the chin, and go from there. So I'll start with a brush a little bigger. On the forehead, I just kind of blend in, go in a motion just that matches like the forehead. You don't want to go like up and down like this. I'll undo that, because then you start to bring in your darks into your lights, and that'll mess up the image. So what you want to do is you just want to get in there, make sure you see what you're working on, and just blend away. As you do this more, you'll get used to it, and you'll practice and get a better image. But it doesn't come overnight. So you just gotta practice it. Make sure your image is natural. Make sure that you're not taking your highs to your lows, as in your highlights to your shadows. And you want to make sure that everything is blended properly. What you want to do is you want to make sure that there's no drastic changes between the highlights and the shadows. So you just want to blend around just like that. Even in the highlighted area, I'm going to do the same just to keep everything even. I'll go in a circular motion in here just to keep everything even. come around here, blend this down. As you can see, there are hairs in the way. I'll do another tutorial on how to remove hair, because that's not the focus on this tutorial, but I'll do another one after that, after this video, on how to remove hair and how to work on hair, especially like flyaways and things like that in an image. But today we're just gonna work around it, right? So we're just gonna blend. Come around to the cheek. In the cheek, I like to go in this kind of motion, right? Again, you don't want to go like this up and down, because you'll mess up the image. So you just want to go in this motion. Blend around here. Now I'm doing this nice and quick. Usually I'll use a smaller brush, and I will it'll take me a little bit longer to do this, but just for the purpose of the video, we're just gonna do it kind of quickly. Make sure you take your time while you're working on it, right? As you can see, I'm blending. You can follow the ways that I'm blending, kind of from forehead to cheek. We got some over here. You can always click on and off the black and white to see the color version, right? We can take this highlight a little further up, blend under, right? Blend over here on top. Here. The nose, we can go up and down like this. On the highlights, we can go up and down as well, right? So this is just a quick rough guide to that, right? And just so you can see, right? Just so you can see, just take that in a little bit more. Just so you can see, what you can do is you can group the new texture and color layers that you made. So click skin colors, hold down the shift key and click the texture layer. Then you want to group them. So you can go up to layers and click group, or you can hold down Command and G. On the PC it would be Control G. So they're put together, and what you can do, you can open those. You can turn off the eyeball, so you see the layer under, and I'll turn off the black and white so you can see. So you see what we've done so far. If I come in, you see what we did on the texture layer with the pimples up here, right? Remove those. Over on the cheek, we just kind of smooth things out. Same on the nose, right? What I can do over here as well with the texture layer, a lot of people have these smile marks right here. I think everybody does actually. And what you'll do is you'll click the texture, and remember with our patch tool right here, number 3 in this list here, is you just hold that down and click patch tool, is click right around it, right? Just bring it over to the smooth layer, and just like that, you got that removed. Then blending. And you just work like that until you get a perfect image. You want to work with as small a brush as possible. You don't want to do too much at once till you start to get used to it, or else you'll bring in colors that shouldn't be into other areas. Same thing with the chest. With the neck area, we can kind of go up and down here. Just mix it around. With the chest blending, you can make the brush a little bigger, and just work around here too. So you want to work around here, work in here, blend all of these, all the imperfections. You just want to blend them in together. And by doing so, you just want to make sure that everything remains natural, and you go along the gradient of what you're working on. So something like a collarbone, you just want to come in kind of like this in the direction of the bone, right? You don't want to mess up anything by going up and down, right? So let me open that. So in a collarbone, you want to kind of go in this direction. You don't want to mess up anything by going up and down. And as you keep working, keep blending, eventually you'll just get a nice crisp finished image with everything retouched. Like I said, the more practice, the better you get at it, and eventually, I'll just turn off the black and white layer, right? You can see the finished image of what we just worked on, nice and quick, and that's how it's done. So that's how we retouch with frequency separation. You separate the textures from the colors, and you just work on them separately to make sure that you get a nice, natural, beautiful image, just like this. Now, there's a lot of other things that I have not done on this image, but those tutorials are gonna come later on. Things like making the skin glow, things like hair removal, give you a contrast, kind of like this image. So this is what we just worked on. This is kind of my final image that I actually posted on my Instagram. So as you can see, there's still a lot of work to do there. But those will come in other tutorials later on. So I just want to thank you guys for watching. This is my first tutorial. This is the longest one. It's going to be the longest one because it's the full retouch tutorial. The rest will be shorter. But thanks again for watching. Please hit subscribe below. Comment any questions, any suggestions for new videos you want me to do. Anything you want to ask me, you can comment right below. Follow me on Instagram. You can shoot me a message on Instagram in my DMs. You can also shoot me a message here in YouTube as well. My website is down below. And I just want to thank you all for watching, and please come back again.